Hello and welcome to English for You. I'm Seb.
I'm Chiklin.
And today we are talking about photos. Okay, Chiklin, do you like taking photos?
I do, especially of my food.
Of your food, okay. Yeah, I love taking pictures of my food as well, especially when you get like a really nice dish in a cafe.
And when you go to a really fancy restaurant.
And you get some really pretty food. But what about taking pictures of yourself? Do you ever take pictures of yourself?
Sometimes I do selfies.
You take selfies, okay. Selfies, okay.
Ta-ta.
So, do you have any tricks? Like, how do you make a good selfie? What's a good selfie for you?
You don't take a selfie when there's lights behind you.
Very important, right? Because then you're all black here,
right?
And the background is really bright, and that's not a good picture.
背光, that's not good.
Okay, yeah. Is that backlighting?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So lighting is very important.
Right.
It can actually, I think it's also quite bad if you are in, let's say, a very bright place in the middle of the day, and the sun is shining down on you, and you think, the weather's so nice, let's take a picture. It's actually not a good time.
And then your face is like all dark.
Yes, you get these dark circles because the sun is shining down on you. So there's lots of tricks to taking good photos, lots more out there, and we're going to be talking about some of them today. So let's check out today's article.
Reading. Photo Fun and Joe Fun. Grace and Benson are in Joe Fun. The buildings here are so attractive.
Let's take a photo of this tea house.
I want to be in the picture.
Me too. Hey, that tourist has a really fancy camera. He must be good at taking photos. Let's ask him to lend a helping hand.
Excuse me, would you mind taking a photo of us?
No problem. What kind of shot do you want?
I really like my dress, so can you do a full body picture?
Also, can you do a landscape picture? That way, both Joe Fun Old Street and the tea house can be in the shot.
Okay. Say cheese.
Cheese!
Is this picture okay?
It's even better than I expected.
Here's a practical tip for photos. Put your subject, that's you guys, off to one side of the frame. That encourages people to look at all parts of the photo instead of just looking at you.
That's really helpful. Can we take a selfie with you to remember our day here?
Sure.
Grace takes the photo.
Okay, so it seems like today's article is actually a dialogue. It's a conversation between two people, and it looks like they are going somewhere special. The article says Grace and Benson are in Joe Fun.
Oh.
Okay, so Joe Fun, that's an easy day trip, isn't it, from Taipei?
九份.
A day trip is a short trip that you go on, leaving and returning on the same day. So if I say something is an easy day trip from Taipei, it means that place is easy to get to and enjoy in one day.
所以 Grace 跟 Benson 在九份，那么 Grace 接下来就说了The buildings here are so attractive. 这边的建筑好美啊。
Oh, they're so pretty. They are very pretty, aren't they? And Benson thinks so too because he says, let's take a photo of this tea house. What I really like about Jiufen is the 巷子, the alleys. You know, the alleys are very tiny streets. You know, there's little ones that go around the backs of buildings.
就是一些小巷。那么 Benson 就接着说了，那我们来给茶屋拍张照吧。那么 Grace 就说了 I want to be in the picture. 我也想被你拍耶。
Yeah, of course. You can't go on a trip without taking pictures of yourself at that place, can you? Benson says, me too. Hey, that tourist has a really fancy camera. He must be good at taking photos. Let's ask him to lend a helping hand. Okay, so tourist is a noun. It's a person. And a tourist is a person that is visiting a place for enjoyment or fun. They might be visiting on a day trip, or they could be on a longer vacation. So, a couple of months ago, I went on a trip to Kaohsiung. I wasn't in Kaohsiung to do business, and I don't live in Kaohsiung, and obviously, I'm not from Kaohsiung either. I was just there to have fun. Therefore, I was a tourist. Here in Taipei, though, I'm not a tourist, even though I'm a foreigner. If you live in a place, then you aren't a tourist. You are a resident. Here's an example sentence using the word tourist. Green Island is a popular vacation spot, and many tourists visit it every day.
所以呢，这一个字 tourist 就是游客跟观光客的意思。那么 Benson 就说，你看哦，那个观光客有一台很炫的相机，看起来就很会照相，那他可能是很棒的一个摄影师之类的。那接下来我们这句看到一个 phrase 叫做 lend a helping hand， 就是给谁帮忙的意思，意思就是要请这位观光客帮他们拍照。那么 tourist 除了在这边当名词以外呢，我们也可以当形容词，有观光的或者是旅游的意思。像是一个观光胜地啊，你就可以说 tourist attraction， 或者是观光业 tourist industry， 或者是旅游的季节啊 tourist season 都是可以的。那么 Grace 接下来就问那个看起来很会拍照的人说 Excuse me, would you mind taking a photo of us? 不好意思，能麻烦你帮我们拍一张照片吗
Okay, so she goes over to this person with a nice camera and asks him to take a picture. Do you do that when you're in like a tourist spot and you need someone to take a picture of you? Do you think about who you're going to ask?
Yeah, sometimes, but usually I let my friend do it because I don't feel really comfortable talking to someone that I don't really know.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
But I do that too. If I see someone with a really fancy camera, I want that person to take a picture.
Oh, sure.
Because then they're going to make me look good. Anyway, so this person is called Robert and he says, no problem. What kind of shot do you want? Now, shot, that's a very useful word. We use it for lots of different things. Here, it's a noun. A shot here is a single picture that you take with a camera. When Robert, the guy with the fancy camera, says, what kind of shot do you want? He says, what kind of photo would you like? What kind of picture would you like? Similarly, if your friend takes a picture and you think it's a good one, you could say, oh, that's a nice shot. One tricky thing about shot is that its verb form, shoot, doesn't mean exactly the same thing. We can say that we are shooting a video or we're shooting a film, but we don't say that we are shooting a picture, which is a little bit confusing because a shot, the noun, can't be a video. So a shot is a picture and you shoot a video. Confusing. As a noun, shot has lots of other meanings too. For example, you gave it your best shot, which means you tried your hardest. Or we could also say, I'll give it a shot. I'll try it and see if it works. Let's give this example sentence a shot. Evan took several shots of the old church and then chose his favorite one to put on Instagram. I always do that. Put my favorite pictures on Instagram.
Yeah, 所以 shot 就是照片、快照。那么 shot 这个字，老师刚刚讲了好多意思。那么也有一个常识，就是 give something a shot。譬如说 ，Are you having trouble fixing your laptop? Let me give it a shot. 代表要不要让我帮你修理看看？那么 shot can also mean a small amount of a strong alcoholic drink, like a shot of whiskey.
Oh, I hate drinking shots.
I know, it's bad. And then 观光客就问了，那你们想要什么样的照片呢？ Grace 就回答 I really like my dress, so can you do a full body picture?
Okay.
我很喜欢我的洋装那你可以帮我拍一张全身照吗
Okay, so she wants her whole body in the picture. Now, if she just wanted the top half of her body, we could say a half body picture.
半身照
Or if she wanted a picture of just her, we could say a portrait or just her head. Easy, a head shot. That's just your shoulders and your head. But she wants a full body picture. And Benson says, also, can you do a landscape picture? That way, both Jiufen Old Street and the tea house can be in the shot.
OK, 所以 Benson 就说 那么把照片拍成横的好了，这样子的话呢，9份老街啊跟茶屋都可以在我们照片的背景里面。那么我们看一下 landscape picture 就是横式照片的意思，那么 portrait picture 就是直式照片。
And landscape pictures are much better if you want to get lots of things in the picture. A portrait, you might just get one person or two people. So landscape pictures are very good for when you're going traveling. Now, Robert says, okay, say cheese. Say cheese. Why does he say cheese in this bit?
Maybe like when you're saying cheese and you look like you're smiling.
Exactly, yeah. When you say cheese in English, it makes you smile. So when you say cheese, we say that normally when we're taking pictures of people to make them look like they're happy. Okay, so now Benson and Grace both say cheese. And Robert says, is this picture okay? Right, he's checking the picture.
所以观光客就问，拍得还可以吗？那么 Benson 就说了 It's even better than I expected.
Wow, okay, it's better than he expected. What does this mean? Let's cut and find out. Okay, expect, that's a verb, and when we expect something, we imagine how a thing in the future is going to be. So if you're about to go on a summer vacation and you're really excited, then you'll be expecting a really good vacation. However, if you have a final exam and you have a bad feeling about it, like you're almost certainly going to fail, then we can say that you are expecting the results of your exam to be bad. You have a bad feeling about your exam. We can expect good and bad things, but sometimes reality isn't the same as what we expect. When reality isn't as good as what we expected, we can say that the things didn't meet our expectations. We could also say that we are disappointed. Disappointed is an adjective. Here's an example sentence showing us how we can use expect. Riley expected everyone to laugh at him when he sang on stage for the first time. But in reality, everybody loved his performance.
OK, 所以 expect 就是预期跟预料的意思，所以 Benson 就跟这位 Robert 说呢，哇，我拍的比我预期的还要更好诶。那我们 expect 这个字呢，有时候会放在一个小片语里面，叫做 to be expected， 就是有一种正常的或者是常常发生的事情的意思。譬如说 a little tiredness after taking the pills is to be expected， 代表你吃了这个药之后，如果有点想睡啊或累的，这是正常的。那么老师刚刚有提到它的名词哦，像是 expectation， 那达到某人期望，老师也有提到 to meet， 去遇到你的期望嘛，所以用 to meet one's expectation， 或者是呢 to have high expectations for something， 代表你对什么有很高的期望，所以你可以说 the teacher has high expectations for her students.
She expects a lot from them. Now, Robert gives them some advice. He says, here's a practical tip for photos. Put your subject, that's you guys, off to one side of the frame. Okay, so we've got 3 vocab words in this sentence. The first one is practical. Now, practical is an adjective, and Robert is sharing practical advice with Benson. When we share practical advice or we give a practical tip, we give people suggestions and ideas that they can use in their lives. Usually, practical tips are very clear and easy to follow. They help you understand things better. A practical plan, meanwhile, is a plan that is likely to work. It's sensible and you're not expecting too much. The opposite of practical is impractical. So an impractical plan for getting into college would be, I'll just go to the college on the last day of enrollment and just ask the dean really, really nicely, can I go to this college? That's not a practical plan because that's not how colleges and universities choose their students. You have to study hard. Okay, let's look at an example sentence for practical now. Mark came up with a practical plan for preparing for his exams, in which he would study for 2 hours every evening. Do you see how that and my example sentence for impractical are different?
对，所以 practical 就是实用的、有效的。老师提到的反义词前面加一个 I am， 就会变成它的反义 impractical。那么 Robert 就说了 ，Here's a practical tip For photos, 这边是实用的什么 tip?
Tip, right. So tip is another one of those words that has lots of meanings depending on where you put it in a sentence. Here, it's a noun. And a tip is basically a piece of advice or a suggestion. So, for example, let's say I want to write a song and I'm having a lot of trouble doing so. Chickalin could give me some tips to help me write the song better. She could give me some ideas of what my song should be about, or she could tell me a good way of writing songs that works for her. Any one piece of advice that she gives me is a useful tip.
Okay.
You also might hear people talking about tips in restaurants. There, a tip is a little bit of money that you give your server to say thank you for their hard work. It's a 小费. Tipping is very common in the US, and in this usage, it can also be a verb, so you can tip someone. Now let's go back to tipping as in advice, a piece of advice, and look at an example sentence. The teacher gave the students a useful tip on how to pass their exams.
好，我们来看一下 tip 就是诀窍、指点的意思。那么 Robert 就给了他们一些很实用的诀窍啊。那么老师也有提到 tip 当小费的意思，那也有提到也可以当动词。譬如说呢 I tipped the cab driver $5 for my trip to the department store. 那么 Robert 就是也一样有讲到 subject 这一个字 right? So let's take a look at the word.
Okay, so subject is a really good word for anybody who wants to get into photography, anybody who wants to take lots of pictures. You might remember that subject, that's a noun by the way, can mean the thing that a person or book is talking about. And that's how we normally use it. But it's not what we're using it for in this article. Here, the subject is the main thing in the picture. So if I take a picture of Chickalin sitting in a chair, Chickalin is the subject. She's the first thing you look at in the picture, not the chair and not what's behind her. What's behind her, so what's behind me, for example, right now, that's the background. This is the subject and this is the background. So let's look at an example sentence now. There are too many things in this photo, so I can't tell what the subject is.
所以 subject 在这边就是主题啊，或者是主角的意思。那所以 Robert 就说了，把主角，那也就是你们呢，移到 frame 就是框架，或者是画面的一侧，就是会变得是一个很好的诀窍来拍照。那么 subject 也可以当科目的意思，或者是话题哦。所以如果你和朋友聊到不想聊的话题，就说，我们不要聊这个 ，Let's change the subject， 我们换个话题吧。或者是 subject 也可以当形容词，会有易受什么影响的意思。那我们会搭配在 be subject to something. 那譬如说台湾常常发生地震啊，你就可以说 Taiwan is subject to earthquakes.
So the subject, though, we're looking at in the article is the center of the picture, the main thing in the picture. And so why are we putting our subjects in this way? Why is Robert saying this about the subjects? Well, he says that encourages people to look at all parts of the photo instead of just looking at you. Okay, useful tip.
所以 Grace 就说 That's really helpful. Can we take a selfie with you to remember our day here?
Oh, that's nice. So we talked about selfies before, right? Selfie is 自拍. It's when you hold out your phone in front of you and you take a picture.
或者是如果你是录自己就是 Velfie 是吗？
Oh, really?
所以就如 Robert 说的，把主角移到画面的一侧，才不会让人家看照片的人只有注意到主角，也能注意到照片其他漂亮的部分啊。那么 Grace 就说：“哎呦，好有帮助哦！我可以跟你一起自拍一张吗？”
And Robert seems to think this is a great idea. He says, "Sure." And then Grace takes the photo.
咔嚓咔嚓。
And I think that is where we're leaving it for day one. There is more stuff that's happening in 9分, but we're going to take a pause here and we're going to check out our For You chat question.
For You chat.
Okay, so our For You chat question for today is, Do you take lots of photos? Why or why not? Okay, Chicklin, I'm going to ask you this one. Do you take a lot of pictures?
I do. As I mentioned before, I take a lot of photos of my food. But sometimes I take photos of my parents and my family members if we go on a trip because I want to, I want to keep this into my memory. I want to remember everything, every moment.
Right, of course.
What about you?
I sometimes take a lot of photos and sometimes I don't. So right now I'm not taking a lot of pictures, but I do have a big fancy camera that I use sometimes.
Okay.
And I really like taking pictures of people. I really like taking pictures of either people on the street or headshots, what I was talking about before. So pictures of just people's heads and shoulders.
Okay.
Because I think everybody has very interesting faces, and it's interesting to see what kind of pictures you can create.
Right.
Interesting means, you know...
We have different faces.
Yeah, they have different faces, not that they're ugly. Because interesting can also mean ugly. That's not what
I was like, that's not a compliment.
Everyone is pretty. Anyway, and on that awkward note, we are going to leave you for today and rejoin you tomorrow when we're going to be finding out more about taking pictures and Jiufen. Okay, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Photo fun in Jiufen. Grace and Benson are in Jiufen. The buildings here are so attractive.
Let's take a photo of this tea house.
I want to be in the picture.
Me too. Hey, that tourist has a really fancy camera. He must be good at taking photos. Let's ask him to lend a helping hand.
Excuse me, would you mind taking a photo of us?
No problem. What kind of shot do you want?
I really like my dress, so can you do a full body picture?
Also, can you do a landscape picture? That way, both Jiufen Old Street and the tea house can be in the shot.
Okay. Say cheese.
Cheese!
Is this picture okay?
It's even better than I expected.
Here's a practical tip for photos. Put your subject, that's you guys, off to one side of the frame. That encourages people to look at all parts of the photo instead of just looking at you.
That's really helpful. Can we take a selfie with you to remember our day here?
Sure.
Grace takes the photo.
Vocabulary Review.
Tourist. Many tourists visit Italy to try the country's delicious food. Shot. Jeff picked up his camera to get a shot of the cat in the tree. Expect. Betty expected the hotel room to be small, but when she got there, she realized it was quite big. Practical. My bicycle is cheap, but it provides a practical way to travel short distances. Tip. I asked Sarah for some tips for losing weight, and she told me to eat less sugar and never skip breakfast. Subject. Tony likes to use animals as the subjects of her paintings.
智慧小补帖
Frame.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net